hate doing this shit not live. I was about to restart it, but I'm fuck it. We're doing it live. What is going on, Hive? I hope everybody's having a great Labor Day weekend. I have 10 Hive Mind finds that have not ever been shown on the stream before. In a way, you could call this a silver lining to the Gmail and PayPal shenanigans that I went through last week, because moving forward, we're obviously not going to be taking Hive Mind submissions through the Gmail anymore, and we're going to be doing it in the Discord thread. The silver lining to come out of that is I was able to go through the plethora of Hive Mind finds and pick out 10 that have not been on the stream, and I think they are extremely interesting. All the streams are free. All the platforms are free. All that I ask is that you press that subscribe button. And I did just launch the MSNPC t-shirts, the pink tinfoil hats, the Hive Mind hat. I redid the black tinfoil hat, and then we have embroidered hoodie as well. So those are available on birdiebombshell.com, free shipping. This first Hive Mind find comes from Uncle Daddy Brother, and they say this is Chase Hughes, a world-renowned interrogate, dropping a knowledge bomb. He has a great channel on YouTube called The Behavior Panel, where him and a few other behavioral analyst experts and interrogators get together and break down individuals that are committing crimes and such. And the clip that Uncle Daddy Brother told me to screen grab from this, I think will set the tone for the rest of this video.
The mainstream media is not broken at all. It is functioning exactly as it was designed. It exists to manipulate you, to divide you, to feed you fear and outrage and distraction while pretending all of that is information. And most people are still swallowing it like it's gospel. I've spent years studying propaganda and psychological operations and human behavior, and I will tell you this plainly. The media is not here to tell you the truth. It's here to shape your truth without you even realizing it. Every network, every outlet, left or right or center, they are all playing the exact same game. Keep you emotionally hijacked, cognitively blind, and addicted to narratives engineered by people who have zero interest in informing you at all. So they manufacture a bunch of division, they amplify lies, and they bury stories that threaten their control. This is not journalism. This is mass psychological warfare.
Amen, Chase Hughes. Amen. That'd be dope to get him over on the stream. If anybody has a plug for that, that would be great. All right, this comes from Alyssa. Now, I understand that this is blurry, and I apologize. The screenshot was blurry, and then when I image enhanced it, it looked funky. But Alyssa had said, Anon admitted he was at Grub Truck, found this on Rumble. Now, I understand a lot of people have speculated on if the dude in the robe was Anon, and I've not ever seen the screenshot. I think I've heard people allude to the fact like, oh, he's admitted it, or oh yes, that's totally him. But this comes from Rumble, and you can see down here in non-harsh, yes, that was 100% me. Dana Allen sent me this, and she said, really interesting. This comes from a thread off of Reddit, the general discussion thread for the Moscow murders. And this person on the thread said, I have software that studies retail foot traffic. Basically uses cell phone pings from various locations. You type in a target and it shows the number of visitors to target, shows approximate location and where the pings go next and where they come from. It works for any address, honestly. You just have to create a POI for non-retail areas. So I created a POI, basically a box around the home, plus or minus 100 feet or so, and then went back 6 months and noticed that there were a lot of pings from the house to the dentist office. Has to ping at both locations for it to work. Well, I noticed that over the last 6 months, the 10th most visited place post the house was the dentist office, aside from normal retail places. Unless someone in the immediate area was working there, then it's odd. Interestingly, if you go back and compare with January through June, there are no visits nor pings on either spot. More interestingly, I searched the dentist office, and one guy is a Navy vet who says the knife was one that may be frequently the choice of military folk. Also, lots of late night pings originating from both areas as well. And then, of course, I think about the toothache and I think about all this stuff. And I'm like, what is happening? Are we living in a simulation? But I had not ever heard that before. Who knows? There's so many directions that my brain is going in right now. And it's very odd having this recorded without the chat to lean on right now. So I am curious in the comments about what you guys think of this Hive Mind find. The next one comes from Sophia. It was titled Twitter Finds or X Finds. Kana Whitworth had tweeted, "To me, this crime scene photo from King Road really tells a story. I spoke with ISP lead detective Lieutenant Darren Gilbertson, who says they believe the killer left the upstairs bedroom where he killed Maddie Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez to pursue Xana Kernodle. The house in these pictures, it looks immaculately clean. It looks like extremely clean. The other thing is seeing where the bodies are. I don't know how anybody would think that they are passed out. That seems like a very clear visual to the entire person's body. It's not just like their leg was hanging out around the door. This is like right in the middle of the room in the doorway. And the other thing that I noticed was there's no mention of Ethan. I spoke with ISP lead detective Lieutenant Gilbertson, who says they believe the killer left the upstairs bedroom where he killed Maddie, Kaylee to pursue Xana, and Ethan is how I would have thought, seeming how, Ethan's unalived in that room too. He would probably mention all four of the victims. Now, this comes from Down the Rabbit Hole to Hell, which is a hilarious username. And they say, this always annoyed me why the Twitch stream was 2 hours in advance of the time they said Kaylee and Maddie left the grub truck. As you can see, the stream is 3:53:27 a.m. as both girls leave the scene. Is Twitch set for another timeline? I have no idea. So I figured what I could do for this is quick pull this up. And that's if I was streaming on Twitch from Moscow, Idaho, would the chat time be in local time or something else? So it's the viewers' time zone, not the streamers. So I'd be curious if Down the Rabbit Hole to Hell is in a different time zone. Like if you're on the East Coast. So that while yes, interesting and not purposefully debunking that, that's what I would guess is happening. Okay, this is a long one now. This comes from my dogs, and they had said, cleaning out my phone and found these screenshots from a while ago. You probably have them, but just in case. Now, this is obviously posted to some sort of message board. This is back from the beginning times, but these are the rumors that floated around right away in the beginning. I personally think these are always very interesting. Starts off by saying Brian Koberger is not the killer. Brian Koberger was an informant working on a task force to bust the drug trafficking ring. Brian also allegedly worked as an intern at Moscow PD and saw things he shouldn't have. For example, he knows who is corrupt. Brian Koberger drove Brent Kopaka to 1122 King Road that morning to get cocaine for his migraines. Brian and Brent were sitting in the back parking lot when Brent started acting strange and smelled a, quote, snitch. Brent tried to lure Brian to get out of the car and go in. Brian said, no way. And Brent jumped out with the sheath and knife and went inside to meet the other members of the Shakedown murder team. Brent Kopaka left the sheath to frame Brian. Brian Koberger and the Idaho 4 were clueless this ambush was going to take place. Brian took off and ended up going to a task force meeting in a remote location where he found out what really happened. After this, Brian went back to the house to see if this really happened. Brian never picked Brent up from the house and was clueless. Brent Kopaka framed Brian Koberger by leaving the sheath. Some say Brent tweaked cell phone pings to implicate Brian. Also allegedly had camera outside the house for the surveillance for drug trafficking. Brent called up the FBI before he died to frame Brian. Brent wrote a message on 12/14/2022 that said something like, the killer of the Idaho 4 is hiding out in the Poconos Mountains in Pennsylvania. The sheath was planted with DNA on December 28th, 2022 by Kyle Payne. Chaos Sector YouTube investigators have the evidence. See video with Brian and his dad in car. Mark Furman, the OJ frame, has been actively planting evidence and going to the media, spewing misinformation to taint the jury pool and paint Brian Koberger in a negative light. Chaos Sector said he should go to prison for 25 plus years. A little bit confused about that part. Is he referring to Kyle Payne like Mark Furman? There are 3 to 4 alleged killers, and all have military experience with Black Ops experience. The alleged killers are Brent Kopaka, who was swatted December 15th, 2022, an ex-SEAL Team 6 friend of Brent's who's posted on SM, bragged about murder, posted crime scene pics, taunted investigators and victims, no name, answers to no one, loves Jack the Ripper, etc., and 2-3 cops and their relatives, lookouts, and killers. There are also 3 local drug dealers, Demetrius, Emma, and Quinn. He said he was in Boise but believed to be in the house. The ex-SEAL Team 6 member is a psychopathic killer who loves to kill. I'm pretty sure Fry and Payne know who he is and are protecting him. He might be named Charlie or have the last name of I don't even know how to say that. These were heard on Linda Lane audios, which may be fake or real. Demetrius and Emma already got charges dismissed on Caden Young case. If they will sing like canaries on this one, Xana's mom, Cara, and Corey H., Maddie's stepmom, are all getting deals to sing like canaries on this case. Jesse James, Bailey and his gang. And then it cuts off. But it says, note, Chief Fry hired a FBI profiler. She can get $800 an hour if working for private companies to work on this case in December 2022. She is called The Storm and has 46 years experience. She said the results of her behavioral analysis show Brent Kopaka has the skills to pull this off and loves to kill. Brian Koberger can't even fillet a fish and hates blood. A criminal intelligence analyst, Sophia Caitlin, researched the backgrounds of Brent and Brian and said the same thing. There's an informant in the military who said they know who was in the house, what houses they used, what cars they used, and who was driving them. Brian Koberger is not the killer. Kyle Payne planted the DNA. Why did Chief Fry not take the advice of the FBI profiler? Is it possible that James Fry Jr. was at the murder scene? It says a ginger in parentheses. Allegedly, the whole damn town was at that murder scene. We are beginning to think they sold more movie tickets. There are up to 25 people involved in this murder at King Roadhouse, and the Moscow PD. Okay, so then it cuts off again. Koberger, as he was on a live for the Delphi case, he was escorted out, and when asked the guy, what are you hiding? He told him, you can't say that name or discuss that case around here. It's hot and toxic. The CC owner, Mark Trivelpiece, looked like he wanted to murder him. They even called the MPD for trespassing. But luckily, Rory left the scene, or he could be talking to Brian K. Some people say Brian Koberger is going to be like Jesus and die for the sins of the cartel. This case is very complex. As the ISP said, this is a parallel crimes investigation, which includes not only drug trafficking, but also human, sex, and child trafficking, all associated with the home's previous owners, Dan Esty and Scott Peavy. Justice for the Idaho 4 means get the right killers and not the patsy. Please help spread the word, and maybe Mark Garagos will help on this case. He allegedly has the Linda Lane footage. Wow. It's always interesting, like I said, to go back and read that. This one comes from Paul Daddy, which, can I just say something to the men of the Hive? Can we get a little bit more creative with the usernames here? It's like every other name has like daddy in it. Like Christ. So Paul Daddy says, hi, Birdie. I've always thought a gun was used ever since I saw the police clearing the house. The first photo of you zoom in, you can clearly see that there is a high velocity impact pattern. I've sent a photo showing this, and the other thing convinces me is Maddie's room from outside. You can see that they have cut pieces out of the wall. This is telling there was a bullet or bullets in the wall. Keep up the good work. And I think back to this interview where they said they were shot, and it is interesting, like the laser and what are they trying to track? I've not seen this photo before. This looks like it was on a cabinet. Maybe I have actually seen this one. It's just zoomed in, so it looks different, but you can obviously see like the blood there. And I don't know if there's any ballistic experts in the Hive, but I'd be curious, in either of these two photos, do you see anything that can like be a giveaway for bullet trajectory? Like, is this a laser, and are they lining up like the laser like to see like if the bullet would have exited the wall or gone into the wall? And any clarification on this would be very helpful. This comes from one of the OG Hivers back in the TikTok days, Mama Tata. And it says BK's signatures change on talks versus complaints. And I have the Tommy Boy quote of John Hancock. It's Herbie Hancock. I don't know why. To be honest, that was just the first thing that popped in my head when I saw that. So I put it on there. But yeah, obviously we had the leak of Koberger in jail that, even though that breaks all their guidelines, then the jail comes out and says, you got to be aware of AI videos, which is like, come on, you all know if this got leaked or not. But that's interesting. I don't know if anybody wants a screenshot that. I'll put this full screen so you guys can maybe take like half of this one and line it up to see if it matches with the bottom of the top one. All right. I've not ever seen this before. Julia sent me this and it was a screenshot from Translucent's page. Shout out to Translucent. Julia said, I came across this on Translucent's page. It has the North Carolina police report with names. Now, remember, there's a police report that was redacted, tons of lines. And I had not read this or seen this before. And just so everybody knows, there's a dude that traveled from Idaho to North Carolina, went right into the police department or the sheriff's office and made this report. That's 2,544 miles away and about 42 hours of travel. And this comes from the Randolph County Sheriff's Office. This was on, put that at the top, it says July 7th, 2025. So maybe they printed it without the redactions, but the report was taken on November 22nd, 2022 at 1:45 p.m. On November 22nd, 2022 at 1:30 p.m., Richard Anthony Colomeko entered the Randolph County Courthouse wearing blue jeans and a gray sweatshirt, carrying a black backpack and a sleeping bag. Mr. Colomeko requested to speak with the deputy to make a tip regarding a homicide. Deputy Walton, advised him that he could report the tip directly to the sheriff's office by contacting Crime Stoppers or communications. Mr. Colomeko stated he did not have a phone and was walking because he just hitched rides down here this week from Idaho. I asked Mr. Colomeko where the crime occurred, and he stated Moscow, Idaho, where all those kids were killed. I offered to call the Moscow Police Department and report the tip for him. Now, I couldn't find the remainder of this document. So that's one of the reasons why I chose this is if anybody has the rest of this, we can definitely put the entirety of this document on the screen. So I don't know if anybody knows if Translucent has this entire screenshot. That would be awesome to get. So thank you, Julia, for sending this. Cats Mojo. This was a really, really well stated comment about everybody who's asking, why would he take the plea? Well, if he's guilty, why would he admit to it? Well, open up your ears for this one because this is really well said. This is by Cool Her Lucher. I think it was a comment on Facebook, or not Facebook, YouTube, rather. And they go on to say, if Brian committed the crime, then the plea deal is the best option for him. He lives, right? But if Brian committed the crime, then why would the prosecution agree to a plea deal? A massive global high-profile case like this, they got their man. Their case is so strong, they are sure to win, right? It sends a massive message to everyone, restores faith regarding the safety of Moscow. The economy is saved and restored. Students return to the University of Idaho because their admissions have taken a hit. The return of a win at trial is immense for Idaho. The cost of trial is a fraction of the return of status, branding, and potential financial investment into the state of Idaho. They did the plea bargain because their case is circumstantial and it curtails the defense's voice and narrative from having a global platform. There was a risk of losing going to trial. They couldn't control the outcome. Legally, in a public arena, under the spotlight, being scrutinized, right? So, if Brian is innocent, the plea deal is the best and only option available at this time to secure a favorable outcome for him. The most important, that he lives. He's not killed, right? But because there was no trial and there is no judgment, no summary based upon evidence presented at trial, then all this evidence is up for new presentation, right? Brian has options. Ineffective counsel, presenting new evidence to exonerate him. That will be wrapped up in exculpatory evidence and the alternative perpetrators, right? The DNA especially. Also, procedural error and prosecutorial misconduct, the grand jury presentation, right? If I was to place a bet, then I would predict that the defense already have the exculpatory evidence. What they needed was more time in relation to their theory regarding the alternate perps, or they realized that Hitler was going to suppress that, right? I don't know why this person keeps typing right, but and or they didn't want to show their hand. This is what Thompson was trying to sniff out. The defense case has been focused upon delay for a reason, discovery and the need for more time. Taking the plea deal removes Hitler. They now have to get the case out of Idaho. Can that be done? Well, that should answer just about everybody's question as to why Brian would take a plea if he didn't do it. Well said. And thank you, Cats Mojo, for sending me that. Like I said, Hive, I'm going to start doing that at the end of every month. Coming up to the Hive Mind Roundtable. This month for the Roundtable, we obviously moved it up to last Sunday because of this long weekend that we have approaching us. So at the end of next month, when we do the Roundtable, I will have the 10 Hive Mind finds that have not been shown on stream. I apologize. It is so much easier for me or anybody else in the Hive now on Discord to get back to people. And plus, it's not just reliant on me seeing it. If somebody sees a mind-blowing Hive Mind find and I missed it, people will be sending that or tagging me or tagging others. So the Discord moving forward for the question of the day and the Hive Mind finds is going to be what we do. So Hive, I appreciate everybody that's tuning in, everybody that subscribes, everybody that when we made the transition over to YouTube, followed me from TikTok. This has been absolutely incredible. Last night's live with Sammy T Mafia. If you guys have not seen that, that was Sammy's best live, in my opinion. She crushed it. It was like a combination of thought-provoking conversation with live dig to connecting dots. The Hive was super involved and it was great. So I would recommend you go check that out. And with that, I hope everybody continues to have a great Labor Day weekend and a safe Labor Day weekend. And I will see you all Sunday evening, 7 p.m. Central. Cheers, Hive.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.